Right now on Good Morning America, first look, new details on that controversial U.S. airstrike on alleged drug traffickers in the Caribbean that some critics claim could be a war crime. What we're now learning about the survivors.
Record cold gripping parts of the country and moving east. Just how low the mercury could go.
Democrats release more pictures of the Jeffrey Epstein estate. What could be behind this image of a dentist chair surrounded by masks on walls.
The death of a popular former NBA star, just 57 years old, reportedly on a fishing trip.
A critical meeting today that could result in big changes when it comes to childhood vaccines.
Two stories about the generosity of strangers, how people in one town joined together to help an 88-year-old man working full-time to pay off his medical debt, and how total strangers seeing a man driving this beat-up truck got together to find him a new ride.
And one day after we showed you this raccoon that passed out drunk in a liquor store, we now have a baby seal walking into a bar wreaking havoc.
From ABC News, this is Good Morning America, First Look.
Good Thursday morning, everyone. I'm Sophie Flay.
And I'm Hannah Battah. We begin with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth responding as he faces growing scrutiny on two fronts.
We're learning more about his group chat on a messaging app, but first, new details about that controversial second airstrike on a boat in the Caribbean.
New information provides a clearer picture of the moments after this U.S. airstrike on a suspected drug smuggling boat off Venezuela in September. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and the Pentagon have faced bipartisan criticism for launching a follow-up missile strike, which reportedly killed two survivors of the initial attack. International law prohibits killing enemy combatants who no longer pose a threat.
This rises to the level of a war crime if it's true.
When people want to surrender, you don't kill them, and they have to pose an imminent threat.
But now, a source familiar with the incident says the two survivors climbed back onto the boat after the initial strike. They were believed to be potentially communicating with others while trying to salvage some of the drugs. And because of that, it was determined they were, quote, still in the fight and therefore valid targets. A judge advocate general, or JAG officer, was also present, giving legal advice during the strikes. We asked President Trump if the administration will release video of that second attack.
Whatever they have, we'd certainly release, no problem.
It comes as a Pentagon watchdog releases a report on a previous controversy involving Hegseth, his use of the commercial messaging app Signal. The watchdog concluding that Hegseth risked endangering U.S. troops when he relayed sensitive details about military strikes in Yemen over the app. Sources say the Inspector General found Hegseth shared information classified by U.S. Central Command with colleagues, his wife, and a reporter accidentally added to a group chat. At the time, he defended the chat.
Nobody's texting more plans. I know exactly what I'm doing.
Sources say the watchdog determined if the information Hegseth shared had fallen into enemy hands, troops could have been in danger. Sources say Hegseth refused to sit down for an interview, insisting that he has the power to classify and declassify information. Last night, Hegseth tweeted, "No classified information. Total exoneration. Case closed."
You know, I think at some point, just take the learning experience and move on. No one can rationalize that as an exoneration.
Hegseth also reportedly denied that troops would have been at risk if his chat had been exposed.
President Trump's immigration crackdown has expanded to Minnesota, with agents targeting Somali immigrants. The raids follow Trump's verbal attacks on the community, calling Somalis garbage. It comes amid growing investigation into Somali immigrants allegedly defrauding government aid programs. The mayor of Minneapolis says the city will stand up for its residents. Meantime, immigration agents say they have arrested an alleged terrorist in Virginia. They say Afghan national Jan Shah Safi was providing support to ISIS-K.
The other big story, the dangerous and life-threatening cold moving across much of the country. Des Moines, Iowa is among the cities expecting record low temperatures below zero. And by tomorrow, the bitter cold moves into the northeast with snow possible in some areas. We'll check your forecast in a few moments. We turn now to a decision affecting American drivers. The Trump administration is rolling back fuel efficiency standards. Let's get more on this from ABC's Nicole D'Antonio. Hey, Nicole, good morning.
Sophie, good morning. The Trump administration says the new rules will make cars more affordable, but critics claim this is a major setback in the fight against climate change. President Trump has announced his administration is rolling back Biden-era fuel efficiency standards, which were aimed at reducing emissions and incentivizing automakers to make more electric cars. The White House says the new corporate average fuel economy, or CAFE rules, will protect auto industry jobs and make buying a car more affordable.
We're officially terminating Joe Biden's ridiculously burdensome, horrible, actually, CAFE standards that imposed expensive restrictions and all sorts of problems, gave all sorts of problems to automakers.
Executives from General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis applauding the rollback, arguing the previous standards required expensive technological upgrades that drive up car prices.
This allows us to invest in affordable vehicles made in the U.S., which we will take the lead on.
The updated policies mean the average new car will be required to get 34 miles per gallon by 2031, compared to 50 miles per gallon under the old policy. Critics argue this will lead to more gas-guzzling cars, pollution, and higher prices at the pump. California Governor Gavin Newsom writing, "Donald is handing his big oil donors exactly what they want: weaker protections for consumers and bigger profits for polluters." And the Transportation Department says the proposal could save Americans about $1,000 on a new car. But experts warn don't expect those lower prices anytime soon because automakers typically design their cars years in advance. Hannah.
Nicole, thank you. Well, an investigation is underway after an F-16 jet crashed in the California desert. The pilot ejected was on a training mission for the Thunderbirds. He's being treated for non-life-threatening injuries.
A bipartisan group of lawmakers is now demanding an update on the impending release of the Jeffrey Epstein files. They want a briefing from Attorney General Pam Bondi on any new information she may have. It comes as Democrats share more images from Epstein's private island, showing where young women and girls were allegedly trafficked and abused. One photo shows a dental chair with masks hanging on the walls. Some claim the chair may be linked to Epstein's girlfriend, who was a dentist.
Now to the trial of a Massachusetts man charged with murdering and dismembering his wife. He says she died of what's known as sudden unexplained death. Prosecutors now showing key evidence in court. A crime lab specialist took the stand in the trial of Brian Walsh, the man accused of murdering his wife, Anna, nearly 3 years ago south of Boston. He testified about finding evidence of blood inside the Walsh's family car and showed photos of evidence recovered from trash sites, including a hatchet and a hacksaw.
Inside of bag one was a pair of green boots, a black jacket with red-brown stains, and a bracelet inside of the pocket.
He also showed photos of clothing and carpeting with red and brown stains, but did not say what caused those stains. This photo of the rug might prove pivotal as jurors were shown this photo of Anna lying on a similar rug. Walsh has already pleaded guilty to dismembering and dumping Anna's body, but his defense team claims he did not kill her. They say she was a victim of so-called sudden unexplained death.
Brian Walsh never killed him. Brian Walsh never thought about killing him.
Prosecutors say they'll prove Walsh murdered his wife, claiming he was motivated by her multi-million-dollar life insurance policy and the belief she was having an affair. Investigators also point to Walsh's internet searches, which they say include, "Can you throw away body parts?" and "Is it possible to clean DNA off a knife?"
What they're doing is they're proving that all other possibilities are not reasonable and leaving the jury with only one reasonable explanation, that Brian Walsh murdered his wife.
If convicted, Walsh, a father of 3, faces life in prison. He has not yet been sentenced on the other charges.
Well, it happened again. The Powerball jackpot soaring higher. And that's because there was no big winner last night, meaning Saturday's jackpot will be worth at least $820 million. Time now for your Thursday weather.
Good morning. Frigid air moving into the upper Midwest. That's going to spread east into the Northeast later today and tonight. A storm along the Gulf Coast. Got some rain and snow Pacific Northwest. The Southwest is nice. How about record chill and sub-zero temperatures in the upper Midwest? That makes a move toward the Northeast as we go into Friday. Broken records possible. Pittsburgh, Baltimore could feel like 0 in Boston. Storm along the Gulf Coast is soaking New Orleans. That'll move into colder air. Could be some snow up to Virginia, maybe D.C., Philly, and New York as we go into later Friday. Close call. We'll keep you posted. That's your forecast. I'm ABC News meteorologist Lee Goldberg.
Coming up, paying tribute to one of the best guitarists of all time and his legendary song.
Also ahead, a critical meeting today that could result in big changes when it comes to childhood vaccines.
And later, why TikTok videos are being blamed for big trouble on the ski slopes.
I'm sitting on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away.
Guitarist Steve Cropper has died. He co-wrote and played in such hits as Sitting on the Dock of the Bay and In the Midnight Hour. He also played with the Blues Brothers. Cropper was 84.
30 months in prison. That is the punishment for the doctor who provided the drugs that eventually led to Friends star Matthew Perry's overdose. Prosecutors said Salvador Plasencia was a drug dealer in a white coat, making big money off Perry's depression. He admitted failing the actor and his family. The so-called ketamine queen who provided the fatal dose to Perry will be sentenced in February.
A closely watched meeting starts today at the CDC. It could result in a big change when it comes to childhood vaccines. Here's ABC's Andrea Fujii.
This morning, a CDC advisory committee is set to meet to discuss whether to change the recommendation that newborns receive the hepatitis B vaccine at birth, a recommendation in place for decades. Health Secretary Robert Kennedy has questioned its effectiveness.
I say I'm not anti-vaccine. Saying I'm anti-vaccine is like saying I'm anti-medicine. Well, I'm pro-medicine, but I understand some medicines harm people. Some of them have risks. Some of them have benefits that outweigh those risks for certain populations, and the same is true with vaccines.
There's no cure for the highly contagious hepatitis B virus. For those infected, it can cause serious liver infection. Some people can recover, but for others, particularly children, hepatitis B can be deadly. Most experts say giving the vaccine at birth prevents infection by an infected mother.
So it serves as a safety net, not only for mother-to-child transmission, but for early accidental household exposure to the hepatitis B virus.
It's estimated that more than 2 million people in the U.S. have hepatitis B, and half don't know they're infected. But one of the CDC committee members has argued unless the mother has hepatitis B, newborns don't need to be vaccinated right away. Other experts disagree.
What I can see from my perspective is there's no new safety data, that there's no necessarily scientific evidence for changing this.
The CDC says infections plummeted after 1991 when the vaccine was recommended for newborns. Now, the committee's decision is also important for insurance reasons because most insurers are required to cover the vaccines the CDC committee endorses. Sophie, Hannah.
Andrea, thank you. Coming up, what we've learned about the death of a former NBA star. He was just 57.
Also ahead, a story I think we all need to hear today. How complete strangers joined together to help an 88-year-old man working full-time to pay off his debt.
Back now with a warning about a TikTok trend leaving skiers stranded in Vermont's backcountry. Officials report a growing number of lost skiers trying to capture video of themselves knee-deep in snow. The inexperienced skiers, inspired by TikTok videos, end up disoriented or injured and need rescuing.
New details on the death of former NBA star Eldon Campbell. He was just 57 years old. The New York Post says he collapsed during a fishing trip. Campbell played for 6 teams during his 15 NBA seasons.
'Tis the season of giving, and we have 2 heartwarming stories about people who fell on tough times until the generosity of strangers lifted them up. Our first story comes from Michigan.
At 88 years old, veteran Ed Bambus has been working full-time at a grocery store in Brighton, Michigan.
I'd like to share your story.
He says he retired from General Motors back in 1999, but lost his pension when the company went bankrupt. Then his wife got sick, so he's been working to pay off the medical debt left behind after she passed away.
The thing that hurt me the most was my wife was real sick, and when they took the pension, they also took the health care coverage and all but $10,000 of my life insurance.
His story catching the attention of a social media influencer who flew to Michigan to surprise him.
No 88-year-old in America should have to work because they need to, and that breaks my heart.
He launched a fundraiser online and raised more than $1 million in just a day and a half.
Well, thank you.
Of course.
Then there's the story of Marcellus Riles of South Bend, Indiana.
I thought it was like an early April Fool's thing.
To call his truck a clunker would be a disservice to clunkers. But believe it or not, he drives that truck every day to his job at the dollar store on the south side. Locals have been posting photos of it, marveling that it's still on the road.
There are work trucks, and there are trucks that work. And this one works.
But a local auto detail shop decided Riles deserves an upgrade, so they started a fundraiser.
What really impacted me the most was knowing that that was a primary driver to get someone to their responsibilities.
They quickly raised more than $10,000 so he can get a new ride.
This is so overwhelming because I never saw this coming. And I appreciate you noticing me. And thank you.
He's now looking for his new set of wheels. And as for Ed Bambas, he's spending more time with his kids now that he's retired.
So happy for him. Coming up, how a thief stole a very expensive egg.
Plus, Dolly Parton's new business venture. Time to check the pulse, and we begin with Dolly Parton expanding her business empire.
Who doesn't love Dolly Parton? So she's getting into the truck stop business. She's partnering with this company to rebrand highway rest stops in the state of Tennessee. They'll be called Dolly's Tennessean Travel Stops. Very fitting.
Yes, Dolly says years on the road have given her a good understanding of what travelers need.
Yeah, and that truck stop, by the way, has a live music stage. Ooh. So maybe she'll even do a performance.
Alrighty, next, the new end-of-year feature from Spotify everyone's talking about.
We can't stop talking about it around here. People are posting their Spotify Wrapped. It's a personal recap of what you listened to the most this year. And now, for the first time, Spotify is including what it thinks your listening age is. So if your 90-year-old grandma loves Sabrina Carpenter, Spotify might think she's 25 years old, musically speaking.
As for us, Spotify thinks Hannah is 24, and Spotify thinks I'm 66. So can't quite figure out what happened there.
I always felt young at heart.
Next, police are still waiting for nature to take its course after a man was accused of swallowing a rare Fabergé egg pendant.
Yes, so the suspect for this remains in custody, but that $19,000 egg stolen from a jewelry store in New Zealand has not yet emerged. It's encrusted with 183 diamonds. Also in New Zealand, have you heard about the seal that walked into a bar? Yeah, it actually happened. The owner of this bar says everyone was in shock. The baby seal scampered all the way into the bathroom, hiding by the toilet.
Just like that raccoon we showed you yesterday that broke into the liquor store in Virginia, got drunk and passed out, but the seal behaved itself and was released outside on a beach.
And finally, a great moment during this group workout when a dog joins them, showing off some moves. Or maybe it was just an itchy back.
We'll check top headlines next. Checking more top stories, small businesses are being hit hard by job losses. A new report finds the private sector lost 32,000 jobs last month. That was more than expected, with small businesses leading the way.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is claiming exoneration even after sources say a Pentagon watchdog found he endangered the lives of U.S. troops by sharing sensitive information on a commercial messaging app. Meantime, the admiral who ordered a second strike on a suspected drug boat faces lawmakers today.
The controversial CEO of MyPillow, Mike Lindell, may run for governor of Minnesota. He registered with the campaign finance board to raise money.
Investigators say this plane that crashed into a residential Florida neighborhood back in July, injuring 4 people, ran out of gas. Neighbors helped rescue those on board.
Today's weather, a new storm system in the west, record cold in the upper Midwest, rain from East Texas to Georgia, blustery in the Northeast.
And finally, a rock climbing woman making history.
She spoke to Danny New.
Wait for it. Wait for it. Oh my gosh, Sasha.
So you probably don't have a fear of heights, right?
I don't think I have a fear of heights.
I think we could say that. I think we know.
Climber Sasha DeJulian just returned from making history 3,000 feet up as she became the first woman to free climb the longest route of Yosemite's El Capitan.
Arguably the most iconic rock formation in the world.
The 33-year-old has already been a climbing superstar for more than a decade.
Going to be sleeping like this tonight.
ABC News profile turned 2017 after she became the first woman to free climb Africa's Mora Mora, which was right around the time she, and this is true, became the inspiration for the design of the woman climbing emoji.
Career highlight. creating the emoji.
Until now.
Until now.
But until now, Sasha had never experienced anything like her 23-day trip up El Cap. First off, it's grueling to climb 3,000 feet of granite.
The majority of the climb, my fingertips were bleeding from like every tip.
I think it's day 4.
And then there was the 9-day holding pattern, when a storm of rain and snow held Sasha captive in a tent fastened 2,600 feet above the ground.
There's like ice chunks falling from the summit, like 400 feet above us.
But once it cleared, Sasha got back to business. And after 23 days total, when she finally reached the summit and history, she had perhaps a surprising reaction.
When I got to the summit, I started laughing because all of a sudden I took a step on solid ground and I hadn't walked in 23 days.
And guys, once she got to the top, Sasha then had to hike all the way down, which after 3 weeks of not walking at all, she says made her way more sore than the actual climb.
And that's your GMA First Look.
Have a great day.